On this week's show, Leanne Hainsby is teaching bar classes and new artist series are happening for Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album and Jimmy Buffett.
Plus, Alex Toussaint responds to Jennifer Jacobs and Ladder, Adrian Williams brings his Thunder 45 series to the Row, and much, much more.
Welcome to Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. Here are your hosts, Amanda Siegel and Chris Lewis.
Welcome to episode 228 of Pelo Buddy TV, a show for the Peloton community by the Peloton community. I'm Amanda Siegel, and I am joined by the one and only Mr. Pelo Buddy himself, Chris Lewis. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, man, good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Nice to be back. Thank you.
Nice to have you back.
Thank you. Huge shout out to Krabby Cakes, Heidi Kabler, for stepping in and holding down the fort with you last week. I think she did a really good job. I have to say,
we had a nice little conversation there.
Yeah, she did a really good job. It is nice to be back and in the hot seat. But it is nice. It was lovely, and a huge thanks. Shout out to Holly, and thanks for stepping in while we make this new transition into figuring out what's next for us Pelo Buddy people, right?
I know. We were talking at the end of last week, like we weren't sure if we were going to have an episode. We weren't sure if there was going to be enough news, but it's still a pretty busy week. So here we are for another episode.
I'm telling you, as I was working on the stories for this week, I was like, oh my gosh, they didn't stop coming. They were there and there and there, but all good things.
Yes.
This week is a week of all fun and good things. So we have lots to chat about. As always, folks, before we get started with the show, we just like to remind you how you can keep up to date with all of our content across all of our platforms. Every episode is released on our YouTube channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand side of the video and hit the notify button to make sure that you never miss an episode.
And we're also on all traditional podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, the Android version. Just search for us for Pelo Buddy TV, and you can find us on any podcast network.
Yep. And of course, we are on all social media platforms too. So Facebook, Instagram, all the words are coming out wrong today. And X. Just search for Pelo Buddy and follow us on those platforms for all of the latest news. And now, Chris, let's get on with the show.
All right.
First, let's do a rundown of the latest Pelo news.
All right, folks. First up, it's official. Leanne Hainsby Oldest is finally doing a second modality and is now teaching bar classes. Peloton officially announced last week that Leanne will, in fact, begin bar classes, which now we have found out she has. Her first live session was just this past week, Tuesday, July the 1st at 9:30 a.m. The debut class was a 20-minute pop bar session, making a fusion of Leanne's cycling instruction and her lifelong background in dance. She described bar as the point where the strength of training and the grace of dance meet, promising a class that was both low impact but high in intensity and burn. The announcement followed months of speculation and teasers, including...
Almost a year.
Has it really been as much as a year,
I think
Chris?
it was last October.
Wow. And of course, the most recent was when she kind of sneaked into the studio when Ben and Jocelyn were doing that 2-for-1 and said, I think this studio kind of looks good. I should be in here. Of course, there was tons of mentions, on social media about her potentially being there. And lots of congratulations. So she did get tons of folks, congratulating her. Of course, her Leanne's Yes to You crew were thrilled to have her, in the bar studio, and her hubby and fellow instructor, Ben Alders publicly congratulated her on the milestone. Leanne's launch in bar classes, I think, Chris, definitely solidifies Peloton's growing investment in this popular dance-inspired format.
Yeah,
so I think we will have lots more to come in the future.
Yeah, now we just got to wait and see how regular these classes are or not. Like I know in the past, like when it was either Pilates or Barre, there were a couple instructors who dropped some classes and then disappeared for a while. I think this will be, more regular than that, but whether it's weekly, monthly, we'll kind of have to wait and see, what sort of routine they get in. If it ends up being like dance cardio where it's every 3 months or what. So more to come on that in the future.
Yeah. I definitely think she'll be a standing now with, Ali Love, being out for the next couple months. So I do foresee there being, some action from Leanne, but let's hope that it continues, once Ali's back on the schedule. So yeah.
Well, to follow up on a story last week, we had shared that Jennifer Jacobs was joining the company Ladder, and together they were kind of doing a little marketing campaign against Peloton that involved, a fake Peloton instructor, a bike in the background, literally advertising banners in front of Peloton. And, the discussion was like, there's a lot of community feedback there, and some people were wondering what the instructors thought about all this. Well, during his 30-minute 90s ride, which took place 2 Fridays ago on June 27th, Alex Toussaint kind of shared with the community what he was thinking. Now, he did start this by saying, let's not get confused, I still love her. So laying that out there, but he said, we've seen the stuff on social media, and he said, but you better watch your mouth when speaking about my team. I love you, but watch your mouth speaking about my team. He's a little more colorful than that. You can watch the clip. We've got the clip over on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're not colorful on Pelo Buddy. We like to keep it clean.
But he went on to share the 3 rules in his life. Don't mess with the money I feed my mom with. Don't mess with my teammates, past, present, or future, and respect yourself. And he wrapped this all up by apologizing to Peloton's HR team jokingly, and then returned to happy mode for the class. But, he never said Jennifer Jacobs' name or Ladder name, which is why I think it went on demand. But there's no question there with who he was talking about. And, the community was very positive about what he said. They kind of felt like he was standing up for the community and his fellow instructors. So there are a lot of people happy to see that, even just making an allusion to and, speaking up for that, people were happy to see.
I did like when he threw in there, if I had been at work that day, this wouldn't have happened. I think I take my hat off to him, because I do think that took a lot of balls to put it out there. Clearly, they're friends and there's a history. But you know what? I liked it. I think it was a respect to Peloton.
Yeah. And one thing he did say in there was that he also mentioned that, he doesn't care where you work at or what community you represent. If you're out there inspiring people, he salutes you and he loves that. But he took issue with the fact that they were taking pot shots at Peloton. That was the part that community members were upset with. It would have been one thing if they're just like, hey, I'm a former Peloton instructor, I'm over here now. Right. But it was with the parody of the fake Peloton instructor with the bike in the background saying...
we bit that when that initial ad came out that she posted on there. We did say she teased it. It didn't seem like it was legit. And it was really kind of, and then she kind of made it uglier and uglier. The first one was like kind of okay, say that, and then everyone can speculate and then move on and just talk about you coming back to Ladder. The fact that you went on to have 2 more campaigns and then, of course, this big truck outside of Peloton, I think was just pushing the envelope.
But to play devil's advocate, if you're looking at it from a pure marketing perspective, would we be talking about this at all if they didn't? So from that perspective,
true,
it might have worked, but there's a line there, and how far to that line did it go? Hard for us to say sitting here, but there's some perspective that might say it worked. So
Yep. Anyway. All right. Well, we can now put that one to bed. I definitely think we can put that one to bed and move on, because she is not going to be spoken about again. That is for sure. All right, folks. Well, Peloton is kicking off something kind of fun. It is a new Discover Kettlebells challenge. So Kettlebells has now become very much part of the strength platform, with lots of folks jumping on the bandwagon. And they have a challenge challenge that actually starts tomorrow, July the 7th, and goes through to August the 10th. It is designed to help complement the launch of the new kettlebell training program. The Flash Challenge,
which also starts tomorrow as well. So it's kind of in tandem and running side by side with that.
Exactly. And it does offer members that opportunity to earn a special badge, except this particular one is a gold badge only. You do have to complete all 15 classes from the new Discover Kettlebells collection in order to earn that gold badge. Members can access the challenge by opting in via the app, web, or any of the hardware devices. There will be weekly content that will drop on demand on Mondays and then live classes on Thursdays. The challenge is structured similarly to previous Flash programs like Boost Your Base, where a mix of live and on-demand classes gradually builds into a full training program.
Yeah, so this will be the second live program they've ever done. So we're still not sure yet. This is the first one to launch since programs have changed, but it's probably going to be the same as Boost Your Base, where it lives in collections to start with. And then once the 4 weeks are over, then they'll move it to programs, we're assuming. We'll kind of wait and keep an eye on that as it goes along. And as part of this, Amanda mentioned, they're doing live classes on Thursday, but this is actually the first time they've done live kettlebell classes. So that's a new change with this, and that they're throwing those live kettlebell classes in there as well.
You know what I just thought about, since it's Thursday, I'm curious to see if it'll be members. If they'll have any strength classes.
I'm guessing no, because they're going to be in the mornings, and they typically don't have them in the mornings.
You're right.
So I'm guessing no on that one. But who knows? Yep. Maybe they'll surprise us, because, next week, you'll talk about this in a little bit. They're having live classes on a Wednesday. So they're changing things up right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, in other news, we had shared last week that there was a Sunset Boulevard Sunset Boulevard class that was taking place. And we had shared that we were recording right before it was happening, and there were supposed to be special guests, and we, couldn't share with what that was, and we would come back to that. Well, that took place this last Saturday. There were special guests in the class. Some of the members in the studio were cast, crew, the ensemble members of Sunset Boulevard, and they were going to have a pretty full day. They were doing the class at 9:30. They were doing a show at 2 and a show at 8. So they're going to be running all over the place. But in addition to those special guests in the studio, there was actually a special guest as part of the recording. About halfway through the class, Robin mentioned, Matty loves Broadway. Where's Matty? And then it kind of faded to a pre-recorded segment. And there was a 3-minute interlude in the class where Matty did a parody of Sunset Boulevard. Now, if you've not seen the show, the second act opens with one of the two actors, one of the two lead actors, Tom Francis, and he does a kind of behind the scenes of the venue. It's like a couple minutes of him walking backstage in dressing rooms, and then he goes outside to the streets of New York. Every single show, walks down the street, down an alley, back into the venue, and the ensemble kind of follows him for the end of it. And there was a camera following him around, but Matty did a parody of that. So you see him run into Katie Wong in the dressing room. You see him run into Chelsea. You see him run into Nico, Ash, several other instructors. If you've been to PSNY before, you'll recognize several of the employees from there who joined in the video. So just a little 3-minute video of them doing a parody of that moment from Sunset Boulevard, and they ended up sharing that there were over 60 Peloton employees who took part in that, and they listed them all by name in the credits and gave them special thanks for that. So we've got a video of that over on a YouTube channel, or you can find our Sunset Boulevard walk if you want to, catch that, and it's about halfway through the class.
Yeah, I have to say, you and I have both seen the show. Both of us are big Broadway babes, so it was one that we've definitely seen. Was hoping that both Tom and Nicole would be in the class, but clearly I knew that they wouldn't be. Once I was looking out for them and figured they wouldn't be. I have to say, I thought they did a phenomenal job.
It was great
in pulling it off, and folks, I will recommend. The clip that Peloton put out that we've obviously shared on YouTube, and doesn't do it justice. You just get a little bit more in the class with a wider screen. You see a little bit more.
Which we do have on YouTube.
That.
We have the full widescreen on YouTube. Okay, so if you go to our article on our website, at the bottom we have a YouTube version, and it is a widescreen where you see you get more, there's a couple of jokes in there. You see more employees, you see more people.
Yes,
so it's worth watching the widescreen version for
Definitely.
sure.
I didn't realize, sorry, Chris, I didn't realize you had posted that part of it, because I will say I had seen the original, and then of course I did the class.
Right.
Which, I was disappointed that Matty didn't do the class, but he did such a fantastic job in the parody. So and since Tom is the one that does it, it was nice to have a guy, kind of following in it. Oh my God, it was fantastic. And
it's great. If you've seen the show, you definitely need to at least watch the clip. If you haven't seen the show, it's still fun to see the kind of the backstage at Peloton and all the employees.
For sure.
So it's worth watching.
Huge shout out to our friend Darnell, who is in there right in the front.
Yes.
And who's the other fun guy that
Juan?
Doesn't allow. Yes, Juan.
Yes.
Thank you. I was trying to think of his name. Juan, who was kind of cute in that. But yes, there was tons of stuff, and it was just fantastic to see. Huge shout out to Peloton for that, for sure. All right. Well, this next one is a biggie too. Peloton is celebrating Beyonce's Cowboy Carter album with a new artist series, featured artist series launching on Wednesday, the 9th, with this being the first time in over a year, as you said, that Peloton will be offering classes on a Wednesday. And the best part, some of these classes were available for members to book and take in person at PSNY. So that's if folks were lucky enough to have snagged a spot this past Thursday.
And I will say, I know it opened to the public on Thursday, but they actually sent out ahead of time on Wednesday night. They actually sent out some private invites for people to get early access to some of those classes. So there were some people who got invited to those classes, and the remaining spots were opened up to the public on Thursday to kind of fill out the rest of them.
I have to ask, did you get a private invite too?
Mine is still lost in the mail. I'm still, looking for it, but
should we maybe not have spoken about this on the show? Here we give them all, we give them this huge shout out, and you and I don't even get private access. And you know what? I'm going to freaking be in New York next week. I'm so bummed. But anyway, it is what it is. But those that were lucky enough to snag a spot will in fact get to be there. Those spots did go on sale this past Thursday, the 3rd at noon. There will be 10 themed classes, both in English and German, across all 6 modalities. The series honors Beyonce's genre blending album and does coincide with her ongoing Cowboy Carter tour. The drop is also part of Peloton's ongoing multi-year partnership with Beyonce. So as we know, they've, have this partnership with her, which has been fantastic.
5 years now. I didn't realize it had been 5 years since it started.
5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't realize it had been that long either. I thought it was 3.
No, the first artist series with Beyonce was in 2020, and then they did in 2021. And now this will be the 3rd, large scale artist series they're doing with her.
That's amazing. Well, there is a full lineup, folks. It really starts from an outdoor walk with Justin Thompson Rule, and arms and light weights with Tundai. Assal Arian has a German core strength class, which will be live. Cliff Dwenger.
Sorry, that will be a premiere. That won't be live.
Oh, it is a premiere. Did it switch to premiere? Okay, I thought it was live. Okay. Cliff Dwenger has a live ride, though,
I believe that's a premiere as well.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so Cliff Dwenger has a ride in German, and yes, you guessed it, Jeffrey McEachin is doing the run. I mean, we all knew that Jeffrey was going to have one class, because he is probably the most avid Beyonce fan that I have ever met in my entire life. I think he has been to every single show that she's performed in London, and continues to try and get to every show that she is in.
And that one's also a premiere, but everything else after this is live.
Okay. So the German classes were all premieres. So Tundai will be doing a full body strength as well. So she has that light arms and weights, but she is doing a full body strength which will be live, while Chelsea Jackson Roberts has a live yoga flow. The ride is with Cody, and there will also be a 2-for-1 run with Kirsten Ferguson and Robin Arzon. And then last but not least, Ash Pryor will be doing a live row. I do think that this is going to be a very fun artist series and definitely not one to be missed.
Yeah, and
not to put any shade on the next artist series, but this one is going to be a very fun one.
Agreed. And, it's kind of going out with a bang before the summer closures start, that weekend. I think that might be part of the reason it's on a Wednesday is because the summer closure starts that Friday.
Yeah.
And then, there's going to be rolling closures over the summer. But just as a reminder, those summer closures at PSNY are coming up as well. And if you haven't heard about that, we have an article on our website. There's, every week or two, a different studio is closed as they install 4K cameras and, do a little refresh of the apparel area upstairs.
Yep.
But speaking of other artist series, Amanda said there is also this past week we had an artist series with Jimmy Buffett. This was a 5-classed artist series. There were no members in the studio. Peloton was closed on Wednesday, Thursday, and New York was closed on Friday, but London was open. But since New York was closed, no members, so no live classes. There's a outdoor walk with Rebecca Kennedy, upper body strength with Andy Spear, a ride with Dennis Morden, a run with Logan Aldridge, and then a row with Alex Karwoski. So we got 5 Jimmy Buffett classes that all took place this past week, and they should all be available on demand now if you want to go check those out.
Nice. And I think this is a really fun one. So Peloton launched a new top 10 songs of the summer 2025 collection, featuring 7 themed classes across English, German, and Spanish. The classes celebrate members' most loved summer tracks. So based on engagement and feedback, and do include a countdown style playlist from number 10 to number 1. There is a 30-minute run with my boy, John Husking. So John has a 30-minute run, a 30-minute ride with Emma Lovewell, a 30-minute row with Ash Pryor. Those are all in English. On the German platform, Marcel Maurer has a 30-minute walk, while Benny Adami has a 30-minute ride. And then the Spanish classes are done. Mariana Fernandez has a 30-minute run, and there is a 30-minute ride with Camilla. There is also a special badge, and it's a very pretty badge for taking any of these classes. So definitely jump on those through the summer.
Yeah, and then we actually had one more artist series that took place this past week. A very busy week for artist series. It was a German language artist series for the Scorpions. There were 4 classes in this series. There was one with Benny Adami, one with Asal, one with Eric, and one with Charlotte. So those are also now all available on demand in German for the band The Scorpions.
Nice. All right, well, we're going to switch gears a little bit. And from artist series, we're going to move on to these sport-specific training series that Peloton have been releasing periodically. The most recent one is the Strength for Tennis and Pickleball. I was very impressed that they threw Pickleball in there because so many people are on this Pickleball bandwagon.
Yes.
I have to confess, I do not play racket sports. Pickleball has not been something that I have picked up, but I cannot believe, I don't know. They're all doing it in Florida. I feel like it's an old sport, but it's not. Everybody young is doing it. Mm-hmm. It's been crazy. Anyway, they have launched this new program. The Tennis and Pickleball has Olivia Amato leading this one. It's a 1-week program designed to help players of both sports increase strength and mobility to perform better on and off the court. There are a total of 8 classes spread over 4 days. If you complete all 8 classes, you'll earn a custom badge. A quick rundown for the English version. Day 1 includes a 10-minute warm-up, 20-minute strength, and a 10-minute stretch. Day 2 is a 10-minute core. Skip a day. Then day 4 is a 10-minute warm-up, which is followed by a 20-minute strength and a 10-minute strength. And then that fourth day you skip. And then on the fifth day consists of just the 10-minute core. These classes include targeted warm-ups, mobility stretches, and functional strength training to support racket sport-specific movement patterns. A similar program was actually released in German too. And this one was titled Just Strength for Tennis. So maybe the Germans don't play pickleball. I don't know. We'll have to find out, right, Chris?
We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. This one was led by Assal Arian. It's also designed to boost power, strength, and court performance, and includes a mix of warm-up, strength, and stretch. Her program actually has 9 classes versus the 8 that are offered through Olivia. But you can look up those. Pretty similar structure. I wasn't going to kind of go into all of them, but a similar structure for the German classes.
And then, so both of these programs, many of the classes are available in the on-demand library as well. That's what they've been doing with a lot of these one-week programs. They're in the program, but they're also just in the regular on-demand library. But in addition...
You do know why, Chris? Because you were releasing them anyway, so they figured we might as well just put them in anyway because Chris Lewis was sharing on Pelo Buddy.
Probably, but these are also in the new program structure. So, if you need longer than a week to do one of the programs, you can now. Yeah. But as always, we still have the links to all the programs and all these classes over on our Pelo Buddy website. So you can go find those links as well. If you're on a computer, because you can't get to the programs anymore on a computer, you can still use our links to go find those and get the details on the program. Fantastic. But then in other news, we have a new series coming to the Row. Adrian Williams is bringing his very popular and very hard Thunder 45 series over to Row Bootcamps. The first one dropped on surprise this past week on Wednesday at midnight. And it's a 45-minute Thunder 45 Row Bootcamp. They made a fun little video on Instagram teasing it where Bex Gentry is kind of hyping everyone up. And then Adrian is kind of quiet in the background telling people to come do it. Just a fun little video over on the Peloton Studios. But the Row Bootcamps, the Thunder 45 first launched on the tread back 4 years ago in 2021. And in this first class, he kind of talks about, he gives you a little context if you've never tried it before, but he talks about how it's a quote unquote wild conditioning class, but the intensity is much higher than a typical row or strength class, and so are the expectations. But of course, he said you can modify it as you need it. And he says to expect that your heart rate's going to be elevated for more than you might used to. And it's, kind of designed in athletic training and designed to build you up as an athlete. So they haven't said how often they're going to do these. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what the frequency is. But you can now do Row Thunder 45 on the Row.
Yeah, I got to say that their digital marketing team definitely has upped their game as far as putting these out with, fun little videos and stuff, through One Peloton or Peloton Studios Instagrams. There have definitely been some fun reels that they've been putting together. So, shout out to the digital marketing team over at Peloton. Talking about digital, 3 new guided audio Scenic classes have been added to the audio guided Scenic collection, transporting members to visually stunning global destinations through immersive narration and curated workouts. These consist of the following. The new 3 are a 30-minute Hell's Gate National Park ride through Kenya with Ben Oldus narrating. It is a virtual safari on your bike through one of Kenya's most iconic parks, complete with giraffes and zebras. So that was kind of really fun to see. Next, we have a 30-minute ride through Wales in the UK with Cliff Dwenger in German. Members can travel along the Llandudno Promenade through Welsh coastal paths and mountains, ending at Conway Castle. And lastly, Adrian Williams will take you on a 30-minute scenic outdoor run through the sacred Miyajima Islands in Japan with serene forests, ancient temples, coastal views, and wild sika deer. I am sure all 3 instructors wish that they were physically there.
And not in the closet at PSNY.
Right, or PSL, although I do know that Ben and Leanne did travel to Kenya on honeymoon last year. So I'm not sure if that inspiration came from there. I'm not sure whether Cliff has been through the coastal paths of Wales and whether Adrian has visited Japan. But I hope they have, because that would be very hard to be able to narrate something and being, envious of not actually physically being there. But those are really fun classes. So if you just want something different, that's certainly one way of getting your workout in.
Well, speaking of different and fun, we have another group strength class that took place this last week. This was called The Blast, and it was designed to celebrate summer with his 45-minute full-body strength class. And there were 6 instructors teaching this. It was Adrian Williams, Andy Spear, Kelly Gullickson, Camila Ramon, Katie Wong, and Matty Maggiacomo. And this is kind of similar. Well, let me preface this by saying we're actually recording before this drops, so I'm not 100% sure. But based on the images we saw, this seems very similar to the turkey burn class we saw last fall. The feast, where it was 6 instructors kind of doing a group class, seems to be that same sort of theme. So this should be available now on demand. We're also expecting there to have been a couple other, 4th of July themed classes that dropped as well. But it seems like Peloton's using these special occasions now, and they're really trying to push strength and grow their strength brand to kind of do these group strength classes. So maybe we'll see a couple more of these a year.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we always like to share with you folks this week at Peloton's lineup for the previous week, which features, specialty classes, advanced training formats, and this particular week, the Independence Day themed workouts, as Chris had just mentioned. So on Tuesday, July the 1st, we got yoga drills, pistol squats with Kira Michelle. It is a 20-minute live class combining yoga, strength, and mobility to target pistol squats.
How was your form for that one?
Yeah, no, it was not even attempted.
Same.
Definitely not. Oh my gosh, she is a beast. She is a beast on the mat for sure.
Makes it look easy.
Right? I mean, it is. It's crazy. But this, just to note, this class is part of Kira's ongoing yoga drill series that she's been offering. So bear that in mind. On Saturday, July the 5th, Christine d'Urclay had her sprint interval training, her SIT ride, which was a 45-minute live ride focused on short, so 30-second sprints with long recoveries, so 2 to 4 minutes. It's based on endurance sports science, which has become something very popular for sure. Matt Wilpers hosted the Outdoor Run Club this past week. And today we have Jess Sims' advanced 60-minute tread bootcamp combining strength and treadmill intervals. Some additional highlights this week were, as mentioned earlier in the show, Leanne Hainsby debut bar class, the Summer Blast strength class that Chris just spoke about, and some of those other 4th of July themed classes that were released throughout the week.
Yeah. And then to wrap things up for the news, Peloton Apparel had a 50% off sale. So for most of this week, they had a 50% off sale on most of the stuff on the site. So if you headed over to Peloton Apparel, you could potentially get some discounts. From what I was saying, like there weren't a lot of great deals on this one, even though it's 50% off. But, maybe you got lucky and scored some deals in some apparel. But that was taking place this past week. Maybe they'll have another extended and it'll still be going, but you might want to head over to the Peloton Apparel website if you haven't, just to see if they extended that at all.
Nice. All right, folks, we are going to move right into Instructor in the news. And of course, I am thrilled to share the first bit of news, which is he's finally here. We have a new Pelo baby in the house. Bradley Rose and his beautiful wife, Sophia Parra, have welcomed their first child, a baby boy named Grayson Everett Rose. Bradley shared the joyful news on Instagram, writing, "Welcome to the world, Grayson Everett Rose. To say we are smitten is an understatement. We've been waiting a long time for you, little man. Grayson's birth followed a challenging 75-hour labor during which Sophia was induced. And they had shared with us on social media that she had gone into the hospital. They tried to induce her. We saw her walking through, a park. I guess she went back in. And then we really heard nothing. Mm-hmm. It was a little concerning initially. Absolutely their prerogative. And we, completely respect the fact that they, finally after 75 hours had this baby and wanted it all to themselves. So I don't blame them. Of course, both mom and baby are doing beautifully. And they have shared since on Instagram, even up until this past weekend. Bradley just completely smitten. Bradley's last live Peloton class took place in late June, so at the end of June, and he is now on paternity leave until September. During this time, Peloton has shared, and he shared that they will release previously recorded, on-demand classes. And just to remind you guys that the couple had publicly announced their pregnancy through assisted reproductive technology, that they had done IVF at the end of 2024 and had documented parts of the journey on social media. They do have a new Instagram account, if anybody is interested, called Brad and Sophia, which will share, their journey as well as baby, content. So I think Bradley will kind of keep his Peloton stuff once he's back on his Bradley Rose account. We'll have that if folks are interested in the baby news. Of course, here at Pelo Buddy, we are so thrilled and send the hugest congratulations to Bradley, Sophia, and baby Grayson.
Yes, congrats. Well, in other news, as Adrian Williams a couple of months ago shared that he had become an official BMW ambassador. And he shared a couple of videos since then of him doing BMW, things in his car, different events. But he's headlining a big BMW event this upcoming weekend. It's called Movement for Your Mind and Body. And it's taking place at a wellness retreat up in upstate New York from July 7th through 9th and 9th through 11th. At this point, it is sold out. But the people who signed up were going to get a wellness session led by Adrian. There was some nice sit-down farm-to-table dinners that Adrian was going to be at. And there were going to be some scenic lead, follow, drive afternoon sessions where you got to drive a BMW car around in that area. It wasn't the cheapest event. I think it was either $1,000 or $3,000 because it also included nights lodging at this wellness resort.
Okay,
so it was kind of an all-inclusive type high-end BMW event. But that was Adrian's a big part of that, and that's this upcoming weekend. So Adrian will be probably sharing a couple of videos of that as it takes place as well.
Very fun, very, very fun. All right. Well, Logan Aldridge is just phenomenal. And I always love it when he is spotlighted. And he was yet again this week. He was interviewed for Men's Journal, sharing his life-changing injury to becoming a Peloton instructor. He shared how at the age of 13, he lost his left arm in a wakeboarding accident, and rather than letting the injury define or limit him, he turned it into a source of strength. Logan became a competitive, adaptive athlete and a powerful advocate for inclusive fitness. His motto, "It's just an arm," reflects his focus on possibility over limitation. In 2022, he joined Peloton as the platform's first adaptive training specialist, bringing a new dimension of accessibility and mindset coaching to strength and functional training through his classes. Logan has encouraged members to just embrace what their bodies can do, regardless of physical limitations, and he has been incredibly successful doing so. So a really cool article of him sharing, kind of his story.
Yeah. And then Christine is having some more of her word shop workshops, which are her workshops in self-talk. There is one that is a virtual event, and that is going to be taking place on July 20th from 3 to 5 p.m. So you can do that anywhere in the world. Over on our website, she's got a link to sign up for that one. I believe that one's $100. And again, that's virtual, so you can do it anywhere. And then she also has some where you actually go places, and her next one that you go somewhere is going to be in Greece and Italy in mid-October. That is from October 17th through 23rd, and that's one of those where you're going around doing workshops, doing dinners, doing local events, and you can get more details and sign up for that over on our website as well.
Very cool. All right, Tundai. I mean, she is just on fire. She opened up about her transformative journey to self-confidence through her participation in the 2025 Sports Illustrated Swim Search, where she is now a finalist. She says that despite childhood discomfort with swimsuit, she credits her runway appearance at Swim Week in May as a turning point. She says, once you shut down a Sports Illustrated runway, or strut down, once you strut down a Sports Illustrated runway, I don't know that there's physically any limitations that can exist anymore. She describes the experience as empowering, helping her feel more present and confident in her own body, both professionally and personally. Folks are aware that Tundai joined the platform back in 2019 and said that her Peloton stage presence helped her navigate the runway spotlight. But the experience wasn't just for her. It was for girls who look like her and for little Tundai. She says even if she doesn't win the contest, she already considers herself victorious for boldly showing up and owning the moment. She says, I've already won, putting myself out there on display to be judged and doing it in full confidence with my head held high. And folks, if you have not done so, I think, are we done with voting?
Nope.
Or is it still going
end
through?
of July, and you can go vote every single day. So you're
every day you can vote. And if you follow Pedal to Paris, she has a link on her Instagram page every day. And I got to tell you, it has been very helpful because I literally will, see Jamie's post and immediately remind myself, I got to go vote. So follow Pedal to Paris so that you can vote for Tundai every single day.
And also on our original article about her being in the contest, we've got a link there as well, so you can find over on Pelo Buddy.
Yeah, but then you have to go back to it. At least this way, it's like in your face. You should be putting it on Pelo Buddy every day to vote for Tundai.
I should.
All right, moving on.
Well, to wrap things up for instructors in the news, we had shared a couple months ago that Kira Michelle was going to be at the Telluride Yoga Festival, and that took place this past weekend, or 2 weekends ago, recently. But there is a video over on Peloton Studios Instagram kind of showing a behind the scenes and her teaching classes there. It's looks like an amazing place to do yoga. You're kind of on a platform looking at the mountains and the scenery there. So you can see a little bit about that event over on the Peloton Studios Instagram and see Kira teaching some classes there.
Yeah, really cool. Really, really cool. All right, Chris, we wrapped that up pretty quickly. Folks, we are going to go right into Picks of the Week. I almost distracted the news. Picks of the Week. Chris, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
All right. Well, to start things off, we got Katie Wong and her 30-minute Britney Spears row from the 26th. This came to us from Tabata Be Hidden Me, who said, such a fun workout with great energy and tough too. It was a good class to go for a PR. We then have Cody Rigsby and his 30-minute Britney Spears Bike Bootcamp, which is one of 3 Britney Spears classes he taught. That was from the 26th at 7 p.m. This came from Johnny82 Rides, who said, more Britney and Cody, the perfect combo, plus the elusive Bike Bootcamp class. We have Dennis Morden and his 30-minute reset ride. This was on the 27th. This came from Yogi Robin TV, who said this combo reset ride yoga series is perfection. And just to clarify, there is a reset yoga that was, I think, at 7:30 that same morning. So you can kind of do that new ride yoga back to back of those two, how they're designed.
And he does talk about it in the ride.
Yeah.
He and the yoga kind of references both of them, which is kind of cool. All right, moving on, we have Alex Toussaint's 30-minute 90s run, which we spoke about earlier. That was from the 27th. Run Ride Rachel 18 said, recommended this one to us. Super hard class, Also proud of what he said and how he stood up for his fellow teammates. Then Eric Yeager had a 30-minute 90s ride in English. This was from the 28th at 7 a.m. Eastern. It came to us from Hannah FC 888, and they said fun playlist from Eric in English. And then Robin Arzan's 30-minute Sunset Boulevard walk plus run. This was from the 28th. It was 9:30 a.m. Eastern. It came to us from Gwen Gets To. And they said Robin kept this class moving with quick intervals. And Maddie's 3-minute video clip in the middle of the class was so fun to see.
Then we have Jen Sherman and her 30-minute soft rock ride from the 29th. This came from Run Ride Rachel 18, who said great yacht rock vibe. We have Jeffrey McEachern as his 30-minute walk plus run, which was in English from the 29th. This came from Echo's Great FTM. They said Jeffrey is always a joy, and it was great to hear him coach this one in English. We then have Allie Love and her 30-minute pop ride, also from the 29th. This came from Jenny K8, who said fun pop playlist and great energy from the studio.
Nice. And then moving to strength, Andy Spears' 60-minute total strength from the 29th at 12:30 p.m. came to us from Tabarabi Hit and Me. And they said, great workout that follows the density format, challenging but manageable and easy to track your progress this month. And then Olivia Amato's 20-minute strength for pickleball and tennis, which dropped on the 30th at 10 a.m., came to us from Carly Sue 281Z. So Carly Sue 281Z said, good to try these out to see if they actually help. And then Marcel Dinkins had a 15-minute hip-hop run, also from the 30th at 5:30 p.m. This one came to us from Tabarabi Hit and Me, and they said, great playlist and a progressive run. Marcel's energy helped keep me moving when I wanted a walk break, but didn't take one. Good for you.
And then Bradley Rose and his 20-minute pop punk ride from July 1st. This came from Carl Smith 912, who said Bradley and pop punk go perfectly together. We then have Tundai and her 45-minute bike boot camp 50-50, also from the 1st at 8 a.m. This came to us from Deb 8, who said perfect mix of bike and weights for this class. And then we have Rebecca Kennedy in her 20-minute low-impact cardio class from July 1st at 9:30 a.m. This came from Just Dance Lisa, who said all of her low-impact cardio classes are always great. She did step aspects in this one.
Fabulous. And then Leanne Hainsby Aldous' 20-minute pop bar. This one came to us from Irene HRRS and Just Dance Lisa. They said, great to have Leanne on the bar team. It was awesome. And then Bex Gentry had a 30-minute rock run, also from the 1st of July. It came to us from Just Dance Lisa, and they said fun rock playlist from Bex on this one. And then Ash Pryor had a 30-minute top 10 Songs of Summer row, also from the 1st. It came to us from Gwen Gets To and Tabarabi Hit and Me, and they said so fun to see what songs the instructors will pick, and Ash did a great job picking songs. Great mix of endurance efforts and ended with some more intense pushes. Loved this row.
Then we have Kira Michelle and her 20-minute yoga drills pistol squats from the 1st at 6:25 p.m. This came to us from Tabarabi Hit and Me, who said, take this yoga when you're ready to sweat. Such a great mix of balance and strength work in a yoga class. I've been wanting to learn pistol squats for a while, and she really breaks it down into manageable steps, one to repeat for sure. Then we have Mariana Fernandez and our 30-minute top 10 songs of summer run. This one was in Spanish from July 1st at 7 p.m. This came to us from Dr. Devin, Janelica 1, and Run Ride Rachel 18, who said great playlist, fun and challenging with some incline thrown in there. And then finally, we have Adrian Williams and his Thunder 45 Row Bootcamp from July 2nd at midnight. This came to us from Lauren J132, who said, so excited to see Thunder 45 come to the row.
All right. And that gives us a very, very full list of picks of the week this week.
Indeed.
And yeah, so I'm sure that, we'll have a couple more for next week, but then things will slow down as the studio starts to close down.
It will.
All
I know
right,
they
Chris.
said that, they were going to be adjusting the Peloton Studios London schedule a little bit based on the New York closure. But based on what we're seeing, a little bit down the road, it doesn't look like it's going to be too big of an adjustment. Like they're not going to be going the complete normal
Extra
hours you might see in New York or anything. So
yeah.
I think it'll still be reduced, but they'll throw in a
Right.
couple extra things here and there. So, it's going to be.
Of course, we've got the New York, some of the New York instructors that are going to be there. So that'll be
correct.
fun.
And, it's going to be a month and a half or so of this. So it's, just an adjustment people are going to have to get used to over the summer. And hopefully, I'm sure they banked some extra classes on demand too. So I'm sure they'll be dropping some on demand. And we'll just have to see what happens there.
I definitely feel sorry for, the teachers and those that are off in the summer that would have loved to have been,
or
in
people
studio.
with birthdays.
Or birthdays, of course, or big milestones. It's a big chunk of time that the studio will be closed. But on the other hand, a lot of people travel in the summer anyway. So as far as, workouts go, you don't feel like you're missing as much because so many people do tend to take, time at the beach and time away and, all over the place. So, So I think that there's so much content. There is so much content on the platform that nobody is going to be bored. It's just, as you say, unfortunate for those celebrating birthdays or milestones while the studio is closed.
Right.
And you know me, I'm always making lemonade out of lemons. So we got to make lemonade out of lemons on this one. All right, folks. Well, Chris, I'm impressed. We got that wrapped up pretty quickly, under an hour. So
nice.
Look at us. We definitely can get it out there. As always, we always like to thank you guys for staying till the very end and listening, watching, and following along. We always like to bring the most up-to-date news to you guys so that you have that. So for me here, I guess hope everybody had a fun July 4th holiday that are here in the States. I know that Canada Day was on Tuesday. Yep, that was up this past Tuesday. So those that celebrated Canada Day, happy Canada Day. Just stay safe and and hopefully we will be back next week. So from me here in Maryland, happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. Bye for now.
And from me here in Atlanta, happy 4th of July, and we'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Thank you for watching Pelo Buddy TV, your source for everything Peloton, by the community, for the community. Work out with us using the Pelo Buddy TV leaderboard tag. And don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Pelo Buddy. Don't forget that we have a podcast available. Just search for Pelo Buddy wherever you get your podcasts from. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.